There's a nice little game you can play with paper, which people have been doing for quite a few years, where you fold the paper up as if you're going to do origami, but you don't, because you've actually got words or pictures on the paper, and the paper, all the words change as you're doing it. Here's a lovely example, the first one I came across by Sid Lorraine, who I never met, but this is about 1970s when he was at full power. It was a little broadsheet to advertise his business as a magician. He wanted to sell himself, to do jobs for corporations. And the idea was to find the rabbits. Say what at the top, what no rabbit? Where's the rabbit? Can you see the rabbit anywhere there? No, there's lots of distractions, but I'll show it to you at the end. Here we go. For these, you follow the little lines here where you do what they call a mountain fold at the bottom. That means you fold back that way. And then the next line up is a valley fold. So you fold, and you're starting to get interesting. So that's quite nice because that's a transformation to a hat with things coming out of it. Still no rabbit. You do the same thing here. You do a valley fold there, and you do a mountain fold there, and suddenly you've got a rabbit appearing. Now, if you look at the original picture, you see it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 features. It's got ears, etc. I'll open the thing up, and you know these things are coming in advance because you can now see the 4 corners. There's the top head of the rabbit with the eyes and the ears. There's his 4 paws. Down here is the back paw, and down here, of course, is his bobtail as well. So they all require, well, the earliest versions anyway, just require those 2 lots of folds, a crimp fold, and then there it was. He also, I think, invented this one here, Sid Lorraine. Yes, it was. It was in 1973. This is why he pretended to be an estate agent, offering people an accommodation. They wanted to buy a house, a mansion, in fact. Well, here we are. Here's a £10 million mansion for you. Does that suit you? Budget's not enough. Okay. What about 1 million? Fold up like that, a bit small. And the customer still looks a bit crestfallen and said, I've only got 1,000. 1,000 to the estate agent? You can't do anything about that. Well, hang on a sec. We'll see what oh, yes, we can do this. Here we are. There we are. That's what you get for 1,000. Looks like a little shed at the bottom of the garden. Again, you can see what's coming if you look at the original picture, because that little shed at the end appears this corner here, and then there are 2 corners there. There's the steps leading up to the little shed in the garden. But nice idea. Just 2 crimp folds, they're called, and 2 little cross ones to each end. I did notice not that long ago, in fact, that there was a version of a birthday card where they did the opposite effect, but only a much easier one, the crimp folds, and it said it was a happy birthday card. It said happy birthday, or it's going to be, what do they say, a surprise party, and now there's going to be disappointment because, oh dear, no party. Oh, well, there we are. You can still sign it cheerfully on the back and say, whoops, there we are. Next time, better luck or something. But it makes a nice idea of that, doesn't it? There's 1 or 2 other versions of this. Mel Stover, for instance, I've mentioned many times before, made this version here called garbage disposal. And there was a very large, complicated machinery for doing it. Well, you're going to do the crimp fold. So crimp fold up. Do you see what's coming? Crimp fold across. Yes, I never heard sewage being described as garbage, but there we are. One of those funny things. Again, you can see on the 4 corners, you can see the toilet system appearing in the 4 corners. Something a little more tasteful than that was this one here, which is a beautiful concept. I just wish I had a better version of it. It was one of the people who run a specialty bookshop in central London. This was one in which you were invited to fold it up to create a heart. And you can now see where the hearts are. You probably already spot them. Part of it's here, part of it's here, part of it's here, and the last part's here. And this one, you don't fold up or across, you do diagonal folds. So we've got to do a diagonal fold that way, and there we are. It's almost there. And the last fold, the heart appears in the centre. Be nice to get a good copy of this, but he apologised and said it's very old stock and he hasn't got a better copy. I'd have to get a draftsman perhaps to redraw it. In colour would be nice too. It'd be nice to see a pink heart in the middle, wouldn't it? But that's a nice one. Taking it to a much higher level, and this is the last one to show you, it's something that James Dalgetty's company Pentagon produced when he was running Pentagon with Ron Cook all those years. And this was a puzzle where you've got to fold the thing in order to create a picture of a lady. Let's see what he says in the blurb. Yes, it's a bit of advertising. He either gave it out at his booth at a trade fair, or sent it to the post to people to say, we're still alive, what about placing an order with us? So the end result, which is quite complicated, you end that, becomes that. And bring that up to the camera a bit better. Quite a nice picture of a pretty girl. I'll show what happens when you undo it and see where the fold lines are. These are very, it is only crimp fold, but there's 3 of them, not 2 sets. And these ones here meet at a little point, which makes it complicated too. So you've got to fold down there, you've got to fold up the bottom bit there, and you've got to fold across the back bit there, and it creates it. And to discover those took me several evenings, I think it was. So it's a nice little idea. I think somewhere in my collection I'm going to look for some very nice coloured ones from companies selling wine or merchandise, because it's been used in the in the advertising trade for some time, and it needs to keep coming back again. Have a bit of fun yourself. You can start with very easily with simple words like a card like that, but then have a go at doing pictures, which transformation, which is what Mel Stover did, I think, because some of these are really, very clever indeed. But that one was my first one, was still my favourite, I think. Something for you to have a go at and do.